artist and I've been recording my dreams for like 7 years. Every morning I wake up and I audio record what I've dreamt. And I've been doing that because every time I have a dream, I can remember it really vividly because I've been doing it for so long. But every time I have a dream and I Google what it means, I get like 12 different responses that don't give me any answers, basically. And it turns out that that's because everybody has their own symbols and their own associations with certain things. And so the only way to actually figure out what your dreams mean is by doing something a little radical, like recording your own dreams. And I'm not the kind of person who can write all that stuff down. It seems like really high threshold, so I just record it on my phone, and I have hundreds of these. And recently I've been starting to actually draw them. And what it does is I can really relive the dream, even just by audio recording it. What happens is it takes some of the edge off, especially if it's a nightmare. And when I draw it, it takes even more of the edge off, but I can completely relive it. But it also changes how I relive it because I've now drawn like a different version that isn't exactly the same of it. And then in the editing process, it's like exposure therapy, and you realize all your patterns. So if you're interested in finding out your own dream symbols, watch this video. And yeah, come waste some time on the internet with me. So this particular dream that I recorded about a year ago, it was a few weeks into my newly fresh relationship, and I didn't record any other than this one dream for the rest of that relationship. Like, that whole habit went out the window. I wish I had looked at the red flags in my dream. At the end, I will go into a little bit more depth about analyzing the symbols, but for now, let's jump right in. I dreamed some weird shit. I was in like a hotel building, this big concrete building, in a city or town where they hosted events, and I was wearing this like mock short like tutu dress. It was a mock wedding dress, and you could see it was sheer. You could see my beige granny panties, which I don't even own, for the record, but it was part of the costume. My granny panties are black. Anyway, so you could see those through the sheer dress, and yeah, it was just like a hideous, short, translucent, like mock wedding dress. And it was part of a play that reenacted like the absurdity of weddings and marriage or something like that. And I don't even think I dreamt of the ceremony, I only dreamt of like the preparation and the rehearsals beforehand. And I was in the bath with Adam Sandler. That was, you know, like the pre-wedding, like I guess you take a bath and you get all scrubbed up, and Adam Sandler was like my backup or something. He was wearing a long brown wig, and he was in the bath looking all feminine and all like, you know, pampered and ready to put on a dress afterwards. You know, he was going to put on the same dress as me, as part of like the parody. Like, you expect it to be this beautiful woman, and then you turn around and it's got Adam Sandler's face smacked on it. I think I've dreamt of Adam Sandler in my dreams before as well, which is something I should probably look into. Don't know what that symbolizes. Yeah, it's weird. And the rehearsal like was a catastrophe, and that was kind of the point. And when I was done with this huge costume party where everyone was dressed up absurd and their wigs were all like uncombed and
full of knots and that kind of stuff, and the makeup was all like runny and all over the faces and that kind of stuff. It was supposed to be just like showing how disastrous and what a mockery it all was. And then I strode across the street, still in my wedding outfit, to go to my actual wedding. And the people across the street were these like fancy women in pantsuits. Like 4 or 5 of them sitting at the front desk for some reason, filing their nails, and one looking at a computer and whatnot. And I went in and I was like, yeah, I'm here for my actual wedding. And at the door, this like chunky blonde Karen lady tells me like, nice try. I just saw you come out of that place. You think you're gonna get in here dressed in like a wedding dress and convince me that you're the bride? And I'm like, yeah, I actually am the bride. And then I gave her my name. And then I looked at her like, you know what? What's your name? I'll be taking note of your name and passing it on. I've never been treated this way. What the hell? And then, all the other ones were like, oh, shit. And I was like, yeah, I got them good boundaries. Yeah. I think I even said that to, like, another lady who was going to this spa to get ready for her wedding, who then, like, walked past me in the hallway later. I was like, yeah, you saw that? And she was like, yeah, we're done. And I was like, oh, yeah. Anyway, I went and got lost in that building because they didn't give me any directions after that. And I went upstairs instead of staying on the same floor and going to like around the corner and going to the sauna, which was like a shower and sauna all in one. And each shower had these like fluffy robes and like those plastic hair net things that you put in the shower so your hair stays dry, for the hairdresser who's then gonna come and tackle that, all that stuff. It was like a huge, like there were like maybe 20-30 of those stalls set up for all of these brides. It was like a bride factory. Yeah, and I managed to get there, but only after like 3 hours of wandering around the wrong floor of the building, which was like an office floor where people were still using tons of paper, and like people were like delivering mail into cubicles. And there was this one guy who was who had to count all of the supplies, and he asked me like, oh, have you seen where the coffee is? And by this point I'd been wandering around so lost that I knew where everything was. I was like, yeah, they're in these cupboards, and they're right next to you over here as well. These ones are like the pellet ones, like the instant ones. These are the decaf ones. Like, I was like the manager of that place for 3 hours, knowing where everything was, seeing how everything worked. And all the while, I was panicking that I was going to miss my own fucking wedding. And by the time I find the sauna place downstairs, despite this stupid fucking secretary bitch, I only have an hour left. So that means that I basically need like 5 people working on me, like 1 on my hands and feet, or maybe 2, 1 on my hair, 1 on my makeup, 1 on my dress. I don't know, I can't count, but it's just like people tugging at you. And I was just envisioning that, but still just trying to work out how the fucking shower worked. And I slipped in the shower and everything went black. And that was it.
I really hope this helps somebody. Goes to show what I think a managerial role entails. Doesn't mean much to me. Yeah, I saved this dream as mock wedding on my phone, and marriage was already on the table like a few weeks into the relationship. Yeah, and the whole thing just felt like a farce. I did have boundaries in this dream, which is pretty fascinating, and I think that the girls at the front desk that I had the boundaries with I think those were like the ghosts of Christmas past, like her exes. It's interesting that I had to convince them I was one of them. I didn't really feel like I was one of them. I also really had to stand up for myself and fight for a role that I didn't actually want. Like, I've never wanted to be married to anybody. And I just like doubled down and got really invested. There's actually this weird phenomenon. There's a psychological study on people in cults. I read this in a book, maybe I can remember it and post it down below. Yeah, so people in cults, the cult leaders always say the end of the world is going to be on a certain date, right? And so people sell their house, take out all their invested money, they do crazy stuff because they think it's going to be the end of the world. Yeah, like 1999. What happens when the date passes and the end of the world doesn't happen? The people who invested the most, they double down. The people who lost the most start doubling down, believing even more strongly that it'll be the next date that the leader has decided on. And the people who didn't invest that much, they quietly just like fade into the bushes and like disappear and go on with their lives. I feel like it's called the cost sunk fallacy. So the more you invest, the more you want a return on your investment, even though you're on a sinking ship. That's what I think it sounds like. Even just the going down the stairs instead of going up the stairs and turning into a manager, I was working so hard to prove my worth and like be people pleasery and like know where everything is and be of service to everybody else. And I was really far away from my family and friends and my support network, and I got really isolated, and I really wanted friends. And I did that by making myself useful to the people around me, giving them free services, making them posters. I was just giving all the wrong people so many chances because I was tired of being on my own and being so far away from my network. And yeah, so that office scene really reminds me of people-pleasing tendencies. I lost myself in that relationship, and it's really interesting to see my dreams in the very early beginning telling me the signs. I just saw through it at some point. I'm picking up the habit again of listening to my own dreams, my own intuitions, and my own symbols. And I found out Adam Sandler's a clown to me, and the whole wedding thing felt like a farce, and it felt like I was fighting for something that I never actually made the decision to fight for or something. Like, I never really had the chance to think about it. I just lost all my energy in that relationship, all my creative juices. Yeah, I'm not really comfortable sharing too much about the relationship, but I'll see which parts of this I keep in. I'm really happy to be getting back to analyzing my own dreams and listening to my own intuition and my own symbols. If you are in a costume party pretending to get married and going to a bride factory, it's probably a sign that you feel like you're being chosen interchangeably, like anybody could fill this position. You're just being mass produced, really. Like, it's not about you, it's about just anybody. That was my dream, showing me that it was, I felt interchangeable and it wasn't about me, and there's no way she could have known that early on. Yeah, ultimately we weren't a match, and for whatever reason she just really wanted to lock me down, and that's what I was feeling in that dream. I was feeling the pressure, the stress of getting ready for a wedding that I didn't sign up for and that I felt was a farce, and yet I was fully invested in it, just doubling down like a cult follower. There's a garbage truck outside, by the way. I don't know if you can hear that. I actually have 2 degrees in psychology, and I thought I was better than this, but I've been truly humbled, and I should have listened to the symbols in my own dreams. But you live and you learn. Maybe this gives you some of the tools as well to analyze your own dreams and pick up on your own subconscious messaging and trust your intuition, because it shows up, especially in your dreams when you're in your subconscious and your brain is making all these new fascinating connections. I really think this could be useful to someone. If there's one thing you take away from this, I hope it's this. The main thing that stays with me from that dream is the feeling of being pressured and being stressed. And if that's all you've got, like the morning after your dream and you wake up and that's what it was about, that's what's going on in your life, that's what you're processing. And That is a huge sign. All that anxiety is a huge sign that something is off, and you can trust that. You don't need hard evidence. That is hard evidence, the soft feelings. And I hope this helps. I'm gonna keep doing this.